Hello, everybody. Mariner here, and welcome to Net That Haul, the second time in 24 hours. Gabe, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm starting to get used to this schedule, back to back.
Just in
I have to
time
say,
for the
I always feel
international
more
break.
prepared. Yeah, just in time for the international break. That'll come at a nice time. But I always do feel more prepared for the matchup show after having done the review show.
I was saying off air last night after we finished that I find that review show is pretty handy. In comparison, I really like it. I think I'm actually learning from it myself, oddly enough. I know it's FPL teacher and everything who's on with us, which probably explains why I'm learning. But yeah,
Even you're learning something, Mariner.
Well, I'd like to think so, maybe. Yeah, who knows? There may be hope for the old dog yet.
Always hope.
Anyway, so it's just us today. Nima's in the Lebanon. I think he's in Beirut somewhere, I think gone out for a wedding or something. He keeps complaining the power keeps going off. He still manages to contact us on WhatsApp.
Yeah, he is.
Anyhow, when he were up, he's having a good time, and he's back after the international break. And in fact, the review show is not going to be next week. It's going to be the week after, isn't it? We're having a week off. I'm down in Singapore anyway. Mm-hmm. So, and apologies if you can hear my daughter screaming her head off because she is just absolutely going crazy right now. Anyway, should we have a look at some philosophy whilst I mute myself across here and find out what is going on?
Go give her some rum or something from the deck there, from your personal storage. FPL Philosophy for Gameweek 4 comes to us from Martha Graham. She's a choreographer, and she said, "You are unique, and if that is not fulfilled, then something has been lost." And the inspiration for this, truly, Mariner, was your Wildcard. And just the decision, like you felt it on a visceral level that you had to do something and put yourself in a different situation than you were in. And I think that decision right there is gonna make, first of all, it's you kind of just taking the reins and taking control and playing it your way. And I think that's woken up a couple of things in you where you're starting to listen to your gut a little bit more. It's like, wait a minute. I can hear myself, by the way. I'm not sure if other people can hear the echo.
All right, you carry on. You just carry on speaking. I'm going to sort myself out this end.
Right on. So yeah, I think we did talk about Mariner's Wildcard yesterday in the review show, and it was a success. It turned your season around so far, and hopefully that continues, and hopefully we do find ways of being unique and not succumb to the flow or the torrent. I felt like I succumbed to the Mbumo torrent a little bit. I didn't want Mbumo, and now I have him.
You didn't.
He's fine, but I don't want him.
You can hear me now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
you're a little loud and tinny, but I can hear you.
Right, hang on a second. I'll just sort it out. All right. That wild card. I mean, I'm certainly not part of the 56-point podcast or whatever it is. Is that what it's called?
You're not part of the 56-point community podcast.
No. How many was there? The 56 points?
I think it's 56. Yeah, that's the content creator community score.
Oh dear! I told you the axe was coming out, didn't I? No, with all honesty, there was a few people said, "Oh yeah, I don't like this. I don't like. Oh, why have you wildcarded? Why have you done this? Why have you done that?" And I was saying, well, quite frankly, what bloody does it matter? This is my choice. Everybody play your own game, isn't it? That's the whole point, isn't it? And I saw something else, and I'm not going to say what it was, but I saw something on Twitter yesterday which annoyed me a little bit as well. So I don't like hits. I really hate hits this week. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. There's a fly flying around me now. But, hang on a minute here. What context are you making that in? You know, you might have Botman, you might have a load of injuries, you might have 2 free transfers. You may have rolled one of your transfers last week in the whole thing to actually attack it now. Who knows? Everybody plays the game differently. That's the beauty of FPL, and it's also what drives me completely mad, Gabe, from time to time. We will see whether the wild card works, but yeah, it is what it is. I've got to live with it now. But I know there's a few other people wildcarding. People are slowly starting to come round to it. And I think the reason I went for it was clearly the fixture changes. I could see the fixture swings, and I thought, well, I may as well go for it. And yeah, that's that. So I am unique.
and nothing has been lost, Mariner. Nothing has been lost.
No, it wasn't. And I have to say, I did actually pull the wildcard while I was sat on the toilet looking exactly like that. So there you go.
We come full circle.
All right. Should we get going? Should we get into this then? Let's see what's going on today. So we're going to dive straight into the matchups, Gabe, as always. And we will start with Luton against West Ham. And I see a little change to your slides. You mentioned there was a change. So you can tell us all about this when we get going. But let me, first of all, give the underlying numbers for this. And this is surprising, Gabe, because your net XG doesn't like West Ham. And we did have a quick look. And it seems to be the case. Obviously, Luton, with no idea. We have a feeling they might be a bit more difficult at home than they have been away. But realistically, you know, my fixture difficulty does like West Ham. Tons of caveats here. What's the scores on the doors with this one, Gabe? Where do you see this one going?
Yeah, well, Luton 1.35 net XG compared to West Ham's 0.95, which is quite surprising, I have to say. And by contrast, the FDR is basically the opposite, negative 0.5 for Luton and 2.2 for West Ham. But what we have, the new element, I guess, here on the slide is the average positions in the previous match. So the reason for this is I want to take kind of like the lessons learned from Lucian that we heard yesterday. And just show in their average positions if we can kind of talk about it and give it context as we look forward. So I think I'm going to be doing that to anchor these slides to the review show. And what strikes me that first and foremost, and I kind of I don't really agree with the data for net XG, but I agree with the idea, I think, because West Ham, they've played every game they've played this season. They've played kind of like this, right? Look how deep they're sitting. They have isolated players forward. They have who's that? James Ward-Prowse, kind of in the middle, linking, right? And they have Antonio, kind of Antonio and Bowen a little bit isolated up top. They're not going to be able to do that against Luton. Right. I mean, Luton don't exactly sit deep. You can see Luton, they're very compact in a mid block there rather than a deep block. And maybe that's been a little bit their problem where teams are getting in behind that mid block. So I would expect that block to go a little bit deeper. And especially since they're playing at home, they're going to want to stay in it for as long as possible to keep the crowd in it as well. So I see, Look, what West Ham they've assembled, especially when Kudus arrives, they've assembled a really great roster. And I think they could be really creative. But they have David Moyes at the helm, and he's not very creative. So I need to see how West Ham are going to push forward and break down a block. They haven't done that this season, and I think they'll struggle with it at Luton.
You see, I've got a funny feeling about this one. I've got a feeling in my water about Antonio. I mentioned it last night. He's very patchy, but when he goes, and he's going, in my opinion. I've seen this before, and if I had the opportunity to bring him in this week, I think I would. I'd go as far as saying that he is a very, very good punt this week. I think Bowen's an excellent punt as well. I'm more aligned with my fixture difficulty than yours, than your net XG, to be honest with you. But one thing I will say is that, again, the data's the data, but it doesn't really light up, but it does light up a little bit through the middle for West Ham. So I think that gives me enough hope, and a bit on the left as well. So I think, yes, potential. Certainly, I think Antonio's quite interesting for me. So we'll see. But my gut feeling tells me Antonio's going to go off, and he is a bit of a flat trap bully.
So, and yeah, that I can't really argue against that gut feeling. That would make sense that he would just muscle through that line, especially if they're playing on a deep block or a mid block rather than a deep block. But I will say, look, Luton have conceded 5 of the 7 goals they've conceded have been in the 68th minute or later. So at home, if they can get to the 68th minute at home, I think it's a different game for Luton. You've mentioned the crowd there, how it's going to be kind of on top of everyone there, and it's going to could be uncomfortable and if they get to the 70th minute, 80th minute, and they're still in it, they could see their fortunes change. The other thing I'll say is, like, Luton has shown a little bit of a vulnerability on their left flank. So that kind of like speaks to some opportunity for Bowen.
I mean, look, I think, you can huff and you can puff, but eventually, I think you're going to get found out. I think they are, and I think eventually they'll get found out again. I am a bit more hopeful about them this week, but I just have this funny feeling that West Ham could. They've come off a really great result at Brighton. A great result. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
And if they can do that to Brighton, they can do that to anybody, quite frankly. But obviously, a very, very different game. Very different.
I might start Cabaret over Estupinian. Go against the West Ham torrent.
Against the West Ham torrent.
Think about that.
I think that's silly. But, you're original. You play your own game. Remember that. So, okay, let's keep going, shall we? And as I say, if we start to see any questions flying around, in fact, let's have a very quick look before we do that. We've just got tricky. Let's say West Ham operate with a Jeremy Clarkson mentality. Power, little room for artistry. And yes, I think Kenilworth Road is a small pitch as well, from my experience. I'd have to double check that. Let's keep going, Gabe. Sheffield United against Everton. When's Pickford going to concede this week? How many minutes in? Anyway, because Yonder XG seems to think that it might well be that Sheffield do get a goal at 1.07 and Everton are only at 1.33. My fixture difficulty, I'm looking for it now. I have to try and find it because you've changed where they are on the slides. Everton 2.1 against minus 0.8 for defence as well. So it doesn't necessarily suggest Everton keeping a clean sheet, quite frankly. But it does quite fancy Everton to score. And to be honest with you, they've created so many chances to just can't hit a barn door from a yard, can they? How do you see this one going this week? Everton's central and right look pretty good, as do shots in the box, actually, and big chances.
I mean, well, what I wanted to show here in the maps is how Sheffield United set up differently versus Manchester City compared to versus Forest. So obviously, Everton is more like Forest than they are like Man City. So we see Sheffield United's deep block turn into, I mean, it's almost a high press. It's like a mid press in terms of the average positions. Look how like. Just look how many bodies are in midfield there. So I think that's probably how Sheffield United will play this one, and I think that opens up opportunities for Danjuma. Then Lucien talked about him yesterday. That right now, like, the only thing Everton have left is Danjuma. So he's probably going to be looked. They're going to look to him, and I think he gets something here in this one. But I mean 1-1 seems. I just see this as a 1-1, even though it looks like the FDR disagrees a little bit, huh? The FDR likes Everton a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with it though. If I'm honest with you, but saying that, Everton have had enough chances to be able to get something out of this game, I would suggest. But Sheffield United at home again I would never say it's an easy fix. Going to Bramall Lane is never an easy fixture, particularly for a team who haven't won yet this season. But they may get off the mark, I think. but I'm not that convinced. I wouldn't be buying anyone from either team, quite frankly, at this moment in time. I think they're a swerve, both of them, right now.
Yeah. I think the only question is if you're struggling for a defender play and you have someone from these teams. I mean, I wouldn't expect much.
No, I mean, I don't know if anybody's got any. If anybody any Everton assets, they've either lobbed the teddy out the cart and wildcarded, or flogged them. I would probably suggest. I know there's a lot of people. I was listening to Nick. Nick on his pod, he was absolutely spitting fire about Pickford. So I think that's a general statement going on at the moment. Brentford against Bournemouth, Gabe. So now here we go. Brentford at home, always strong. The net XG likes them 1.65. Bournemouth 1.07. Doesn't necessarily see a clean sheet coming again, which is a bit irritating considering I'm a Flecken owner. But at least maybe they're going to have a few shots. And if they're low XG shots, I might get some save points out of it, which is what we tend to get with Brentford these days, isn't it? Brentford's fixture difficulty 2.5, defensively 1.8. Actually, does like them. So if I was working off my fixture difficulty, then I'm 100% playing Flecken for first and foremost. I'd play him over Areola because I do think Luton have the opportunity of getting something. But also, it really likes Brentford's left, and it really likes their headed matchup as well. So where are we going with this one, Gabe? This looks interesting. I'm a Posto owner. Didn't do much last week. I have to say I'm a bit more hopeful this week. Although that right-hand matchup doesn't look very good, which is where he sits. So maybe I've got a bit of a problem coming. I don't know. Maybe we'll see the captaincy metric later on. It might throw that in the spanner as well. But anyway, let's see.
Well, I think that's just a function of that Brentford just create from their left. And that doesn't mean Mbeumo's not going to get his.
No, it just means the chance comes from the left. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so that will continue. But if we look at the average position maps, who's the Mbeumo could be isolated against. I have to look up who that is. Number 5 for Bournemouth. But if he finds himself isolated on that side, right? I think there's definitely this is the game where you start your Brentford players. Wissa, Mbeumo, Flecken is an obvious one. And sometimes when I look at the net XG and it's it's indicates potentially a goal. But if you look at the XG metric, if that's low, right? Then sometimes that just could indicate save points, even if it's not reflected in the shots goal predictors, because you get low XG chances with high net XG, so probably likely on target. So just something to pair there that could be interesting. But I think this one's obvious for Wissa and Mbeumo, especially I have to say I like Wissa a lot. Because Wissa is the tip of the spear. He's the first look when Brentford press in midfield. They're going to play their 4-3-3 likely, and when they press in midfield, when they recover the ball, the first look is always straight ahead to Wissa, and I think he could split those the Bournemouth center backs there quite a bit. And if they step, then that'll open things for Mbeumo. So I'd expect both of them to do well here, but I do also expect Bournemouth to get something. I was surprised they didn't get something against Spurs.
Yeah, I do like Wissa, but I mean, he's 50% goal involvement right now with respect to Brentford, actual. Mm-hmm. So exactly the same as Mbeumo. Expected is lower, 33. So, but yeah, his actual involvement is 50%. So I think he's a really good value. Again, and he's in form. He's in form. and I think you can safely say that. But saying that, they both are. And Bournemouth, as we've been saying, Bournemouth don't know any other way other than just attacking. So I think that's probably going to open up chances for Brentford as well. If I was going to go with this one, Gabe, I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to go 3-1 here. I've got a funny feeling Bournemouth might get something, I'm afraid. I think I might have to rely on save points again.
One interesting thing about Bournemouth, I kind of agree with you in that prediction, Mariner. One interesting thing about Bournemouth, look at them versus Spurs. You see how Solanke had to drop deeper in that match, and Semenyo was the one that got the goal. Or no, sorry, didn't score, right? No, didn't score. It was 2-0. But Semenyo's the number 24 who's furthest forward. Yeah, he nearly did. So that's something to watch out for. I think Semenyo is a 4.5 million forward. So everyone's going to Archer. I think Semenyo could be really interesting here if Solanke's pulling central defenders and Semenyo's getting in behind.
Yeah, he certainly looked. He looked a bit lively, didn't he? He looked lively. Let's see how it goes. I think Brentford assets. You're going to play them, aren't you? You're playing them all this week. You're not benching them. No way. No chance. Okay, let's move on. Burnley against Tottenham. Right. Okay. What's this I hear about Richarlison being crocked? There's a rumour, isn't there?
This smells like when like insecure players when they go and they mess up on the field and then they pretend they got injured. This is like the manager's like, oh, I messed up playing Richarlison. He must be injured.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Enough said. Well, anyway, apparently he's flagged. So there we go. Brentford. I said Burnley. You've got Brentford on here still. You've got the old matchup. You've got the Burnley, Tottenham, and the Brentford data.
Oh, damn it! I forgot to change this one. Sorry.
Don't worry. I'll tell you what I'm going to do because I can probably see this data from somewhere else. So I'm just going to go into the. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to go to slide 14. There we go, Gabe. There's your summary. Halfway down.
All right.
Do you see it? I think somewhere. Maybe we don't. Where are we? What's going on with this? It's all going to shit as well, is it? No, hang on a minute. Where are we? Which game are we doing? Spurs. Here we go. Spurs and Burnley. There we go. Burnley Spurs. Minus 0.9 for Burnley. Minus 2.9 for Burnley's defence. Plus 2.9 for Spurs. Zonals right side for Spurs. 3.9. Burnley not an awful lot. And what else are we looking for here? Nothing much. Looks like the formatting's gone wrong on the shots in the box, but anyway, there we go. Nothing much, Gabe, from our side here, but it does like the fixture difficulty. Your net XG, on the other hand, only 1.3. Only 1.3 for Spurs. Where are we going with them? Where are we going with respect to Maddison? If Richarlison, I mean, who's going to play if Richarlison isn't playing there?
So
because Maddison's creating a lot, but Richarlison's not finishing them, so it might be a bonus. This.
Well, if we look like last match in the average position maps, there, Son is actually the furthest forward, with Maddison and Richarlison in behind him, and I think that's something that could continue. You could even see like Son and Maddison a little bit playing kind of close together. But I don't really know. I have to be perfectly honest. I don't know how Postecoglou will set up without Richarlison. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know. There are many things he could do. But one thing that Burnley does well, and you see that also in the average position maps, is look how they pack that midfield. Right, so they're basically they're forcing players to they're forcing other teams to go wide. Like they're saying nothing's going to come through the middle, and so they're forcing players to go wide. So I think this could be a heavy involvement for Udogie and whoever's going to be on the other side, be it Pedro Porro or Emerson Royal. But I think it's going to be about them and then them finding targets centrally. And in that sense, I don't know. I'm loath to say this because Madison has been so great, and I already brought him into my team for this game week. But this doesn't feel like a Madison game week to me because of that packed central midfield area. It does feel more like get into space, get it wide, more like a maybe Son and Udogie kind of combining some combination there. And then I don't know, whoever's at the 9. I don't know who's going to be there.
Parrot. Parrot, is it? Was it Parrot? I don't know.
Parrot.
No idea. There's a question actually from Tricky. Perisic. Is Perisic going to end up further up the pitch? Given there seems to be, there's a lot of people missing right now. Spurs, isn't there? Is Perisic going to get a run further up?
He could. I don't know. He's, Ange has used him as an impact sub, as an impact player thus far. So I don't know if he'll want to keep him as an impact player, if that's all he sees him as, or if, say, Perisic just comes in and plays the wing. I don't think he'll play defense.
Son playing the 9?
He could. He's not exactly what they're trying to do. If he plays the 9, I do expect Madison to play a little closer to him. And that would, if that happens, then Madison doesn't get stuck in that midfield mess.
Yeah, but if you just notice the players who were throwing around, right? Son's not particularly in form, is he? We've been saying that for a week or two. Just does make me think. Oddly enough, if Richarlison's missing, am I so worried about Madison? It's because Richarlison did score in the week, didn't he? In the League Cup.
Yeah, but Madison has been good despite Richarlison holding
he is
the
a
team
good.
back, right?
Well, there is that. Yeah, there is that. So anyway, right. Well, anyway, we're 27 minutes in, so I suppose we better ask for some likes, had we? Whilst we're at it. So, if you haven't already hit like, please do. Sorry, we've been messing up as usual, but this is part of the fun in that all, isn't it, Gabe? We never do anything normally. There's always things go wrong. It's part of the fun. But yeah, hit like. If you really like us, hit subscribe. And if you really, really like us, become a hauler. About 50 people now. So we've actually up at 50. Although I understand there's a little bit of gifting going on, which might explain why we've jumped a bit suddenly. But anyway, thank you very much. Gabe, let's keep going. Chelsea against Nottingham Forest. So, again, data is going to take a time to catch up with what we are seeing on the pitch. Your net XG quite likes Chelsea, but not that much, 1.43. Forest at 0.75. My fixture difficulty likes Chelsea a bit more, 2.2 for attack, 1.9 for defence. And it quite likes the left and right-sided matchups for Chelsea, so it suggests wings. Again, probably plays down Sterling sort of angle again here, I've got a funny feeling. I think Forest might be a different beast to Luton, though, between me and you. They've already shown that they've got a bit more about them. I think it won't be as easy a game as the Luton game was eventually. The one thing I will say, Gabe, is shots in the box 10.5 predicted. Plenty of shots by the looks of things. Where do you see this one going?
Well, I mean, we have the two heat maps here. Yeah, Luton they don't have a Taiwo who has scored in 7 consecutive Premier League matches. So that'll be different. Then Chelsea will have to account for that. But I put the Raheem Sterling's heat map here and Taiwo Awoniyi's heat map. Look at Taiwo's just kind of like presence near the penalty spot. So I wouldn't be surprised if he causes them problems. But what I will say is, look, Chelsea have the players to go wide, right? I think this could be like a heavy Chilwell game, for example. If you look at the average positions for Forest on the Forest's right defensive side, there's kind of a gap there. That's how they had set up against United, right? With Rashford on that side. So if Rashford's on that side and they're showing some vulnerability there, I think, I've been saying this for several weeks and it hasn't really happened, but Chilwell could absolutely haul in this one. I kind of like Chilwell more than, I don't know if more, but I think Chilwell's side will offer more opportunities than Sterling's side on the right.
Did you see that news? I didn't know it. So I saw it in the chat and I went, Palmer? Like the only Palmer I can think of is Cole Palmer. Fabrizio Romano, Cole Palmer to Chelsea. Here we go. Agreement in principle reached. Manchester City on $40 million deal plus $5 million add-ons. He plays down the right. Sterling mudded. No, must be just been to compete, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one because he plays wider. He plays wider than Sterling, even though the heat map there does show Sterling kind of like wide near in the middle third. Sterling gets inside when he comes close to the box. So I don't know if there will be some kind of interplay there where Sterling goes from wide inside, and Palmer would stay wide or something. I don't know. That's an interesting one. Palmer is also very young. He's like 19, right? So it could be
and it's very cheap. Play. It's $5 million, by the way. So I don't think, as I say, I think it's a little bit of excitement, but I don't think it'll change much in the short term. Do you?
Discomfort tells us that Palmer actually plays left, right, and through the middle for the England youth.
Right, okay, because I've only ever seen him on the right. I think I've only ever seen him on the right. Is that? But I've seen him cut in on his left, and he scored with his left foot, hasn't he? I've seen him do that a couple of times. So, yeah, maybe he can play anywhere. Good point. There we go. Right, okay. Let's... Another one. God, how many more players are they going to sign? How many more? I hope I keep a clean sheet. I am playing both my Chelsea defenders against Forest, by the way. So I think I have to. I cannot not play them. Yeah. I'm not going to bench him. You bring a Chelsea defender in for a reason. You bring him in to play him these games, not put him on the bench and then get jammy and get all the points off the bench, yeah? And then celebrate it like you've done something good. You benched him. It's no good. It's bloody spawny. That's all it is. Don't celebrate it. What did General say? He celebrated his look. He didn't celebrate his points. He celebrated his look. I think that's the way to do it.
There's a fine line.
There is. God, I was bitter. So bitter.
I did tell me about it. My 12.
What did I say last night? What did I say last night off air at the end? I said, if you've got a player on the bench, just give them half the points. I think that's the way. Why should you get full points? You've took a conscious decision to put them on the bloody bench. Why should you get full points? I think they're missing a trick. What do they think? What do you think in the chat,
half the
guys?
Points is fantastic.
What do you think in the chat? What do you think to Mariner? I'm on my high horse again as usual. God, I was spitting fire, honestly.
Nima's the one that does the polls for us, so we don't have any polls today.
No, we haven't got any polls. No.
But let us know what you think of that idea. Like
the closest thing we've got to a poll,
you get half.
I think the closest thing we've got to a poll is Matty Cash. Get that off? Get it? Ha ha ha! Manchester City against Fulham.
We just went from 50 viewers to 5. Yeah. Yep, we're dropping viewers.
It's gone down 10 instantly. Did you see it? Just went down 10 instantly. Everyone's just switched off. Manchester City against Fulham. And we've got a few people agreeing with me. Podness saying, I completely agree with you. I said that about 2 years back. Sorry, mate, I didn't know that. I didn't know you then, but no, I agree with you completely. Manchester City against Fulham, Gabe. Let's keep going. I'm going to lose my... I'm going to come back to this point later as well. Manchester City against Fulham. Net XG is really favourable, 1.98. But again, Manchester City You think they're going to concede. Your NetXG thinks they're going to concede at 0.99, or there's a chance. On the other hand, my fixture difficulty thinks not. 3.7 attack, 2.9 defence, 3.3 big chances. We know who probably going to get them. The issue is, Gabe, as we said last night, is he going to take them? I mean, the robot on Hub thinks it's going to score 9 points. But the robot thinks he's going to score 9 points every week. Eventually, he's right. Do you know what I mean? But where do you see this one going? I mean, obviously, the shot goal predictors light up. Manchester City at home, you've got to fancy them. I think you fancy Haaland to get on to sort himself out, personally.
Yeah, certainly. Look at the 4.0 central matchup there. Everything just lines up from the big chances. Shots in the box, not so much, which is interesting. But he doesn't need many shots in the box to convert, right? Look how low the shots in the box matchup is, but the XG matchup is 2.0. So that just goes to show that, and then the average positions after the substitutions, it shows how much potential Foden has with the space in front of him, compared to Alvarez, who's kind of like always behind Holland. The runs. It's a shame Foden had the runs for the last match, and then but one thing that Fulham look at. Hopefully he's taking what he needs.
It just was shit luck, man. It was terrible luck on it. It was actually a shit touch in the box as well for his assist. If we're staying on topic, right?
They say he's streaky, right?
Oh dear! Now we're really starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel, aren't we? Here. Yeah. Yeah.
But moving over to Fulham here, look how compact and deep Fulham are, and Palhinha is back, so Palhinha will be disrupting that space that Foden is supposed to have. I could see Palhinha causing some trouble here, making it difficult. But after a bit of an embarrassing game away without Pep, I think they come home and make a statement here against Fulham. I kind of agree with the shot predictors, 18% chance, 3 or more goals.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question from Black Screen here. Why was the fixture of Newcastle versus Liverpool weighted so much more in favour of Newcastle than in City against Fulham? I've got a feeling it's to do with the periods of time that the fixture is looking at. Because Manchester City were a little bit off the boil at the back end of last season, weren't they? Because there was a ton of rotation. So, and that's probably, and Newcastle on the other hand were scoring goals for fun at the end of last season, if you remember. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably it. And Liverpool are just shit. Or they were. Although, to be fair, as we mentioned in the review show last night, they actually did a lot better than I thought they would. But they still look very flaky and very shaky at the back, a bit like you do when you're constipated, Gabe, which is what you said about De Zerbi last night, wasn't it? Was it his fault? Was it his?
And Arteta. I think it's going around.
Was it Arteta? I thought it was De Zerbi. Anyway.
It was Arteta.
Whilst we're still on this topic, you know what happens once this guy got onto Poe? We just stay on it, because I'm afraid I'm. Anyway, we like to entertain people. Like to entertain people. Yes. Okay. I strongly suspect that Haaland will put it right. I hope Foden has managed to take some Imodium and is a little bit better this week, because I would like to think he's going to get a good run against Fulham. I do really fancy them against Fulham as well. That's that one. Oh, while we're on it, Brighton against Newcastle. Are they going to bounce back, Gabe? This is the question. It's not an easiest game to bounce back against Newcastle, really. Their net XG for Brighton, only 1.25. Newcastle 1.23. Mm-hmm. Botman missing now, by the looks of things. But saying that, these numbers are all over the place with these teams, because, of course, Brighton are nothing like defensively what they were. Nothing like. Even though the fixture ability really likes Brighton attack at 3.1. I'm not surprised because Newcastle away from home are nothing like as strong, and they're probably even weaker now with no Botman. Everything else lights up for Brighton, but that's not uncommon. They've had about 50 odd shots in 2 games or something like that. I mean, there's hardly any. There's no wonder really. I'm not sure, however, that I see it quite as easy for Brighton. I've got a funny feeling there could be goals here. I think it could be quite open. What's your perspective? Even though your fixture ability doesn't suggest it, or your net XG doesn't suggest it, I think there might be goals. I've got a bit of a gut about this one.
Yeah, I think what's holding Brighton back in terms of the shot XG there is the expected goals on target. The quality of their finishing, just based on what I'm seeing here, combining data from last season and this season, it's a bit on the lower end. It's below 1 there. I don't know but overall, I have to say that it still doesn't make sense unless Newcastle really prevents a lot of shots. So like defensively, which I haven't really seen. But the fact that Brighton's shot XG is so low, 0.6, but the goal predictors are quite high, tells me there's something. Like you have to choose a side, right? And I would choose a side of the goal predictors in this case. I think Brighton, yeah, they still are generating a bunch of shots, but this is kind of like I just see this as an even matchup, and it'll be very interesting to see if Newcastle go after Brighton, because I think their back 4 to 6 is they're pretty static, except for Trippier hasn't come forward as much this season. He does step forward sometimes though. But I think they'll be able to account for Brighton penetrating the initial press. I think Newcastle will be able to account for that. And if they win the ball high up, I think Newcastle will definitely score here. But it's a pretty even match. Like I agree more with net XG, I think, than the FDR.
Yeah, and I've got, as you know, my wildcard's got Trippier and Isak. At this moment in time, Trippier's still first bench. And I think that tells a little bit of a story that I've got a funny feeling that I don't think they're going to keep a clean sheet, particularly now. I do quite fancy him for certainly going forward. I think Newcastle potentially have a very, very good opportunities for Trippier's assist potential. I think it's very high in the coming weeks. We'll show that a bit later. But yeah, okay. 2-2, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my call.
In terms of like a 2-2, I was gonna say 2-2 as well. Podden in the chat says 2-1 to Newcastle. But as far as like if we look at you have Isak, right, Chris?
Yes.
I own Isak as well, and I like him to score in this one. I just think he's always in the good positions. Especially if Newcastle win the ball off Brighton high up the pitch. That's Isak right in there. But I also like Anthony Gordon to get an assist, getting in the pockets behind the fullbacks.
The only thing I would say about Isak,
anybody attacking Brighton's right side, James Milner, that left side will blow up. So if that's Anthony Gordon over there, I just say one thing about Isak, and one little nervous bit I've got about him is his minutes, because again, Wilson cannibalizes him a tiny bit, doesn't he? You could see it coming. That's the only slight downside I've got with him. At this moment, it's definitely Isak over Wilson. At this moment, there's no contest right now. But I do worry a little bit about his minutes, to be honest with you. And I do worry, and I said earlier on, I worry a little bit about Trippier and Newcastle's clean sheet potential with Botman being out as well, potentially. What's that going to mean? Dan Burn moving inside, possibly. Target going out on the left. I think that's what they'd have to do, I think.
my pea-sized intellect,
which
where
would open
play.
up for. If that happens, then definitely look at Sully March.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
for
I was
Brighton.
just going to say.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Look at that matchup, and maybe that matchup on the right's even stronger. Possibly there.
Actually, that whole side, most of the play could be on that one side. Brighton's right, Newcastle's left.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's enough to frighten me off playing Trippier, I think.
if that's the case, does that limit Estupinian? If the play does that limit his attacking returns if the play is all constantly on that side?
It could do. I mean, the thing I'll say about Estupinian is that I was lucky last week. I didn't own either of them, and I tell you what, they both could have had a couple. They both could have had a couple of returns, both Mitoma and Estupinian, right? They're still front and centre of everything, of most things that they do. But Brighton are just so good to watch. I've took a decision to go without for now. But yeah,
really quickly, we can't move on from Newcastle without talking about what Eddie Howe did to his team. As everybody's praising Liverpool,
do you want to have a rant?
All of that,
excellent.
Can we just talk about this a little bit? So as everybody's all of a sudden the Darwin Nunez craze is back because the guy is given 2 balls where he's not required to think; he just has to kick. I mean, good, he can kick the ball. Bravo, you can kick the fucking ball. But the reason you're in a position to kick the fucking ball when that's all you did, you kicked 2 balls in that game, you scored, hats off to you. But the reason it's too early to anoint this guy is so Eddie Howe goes from look at the image on the left, right? The bottom left there, Newcastle before the substitutions, pretty balanced, midfield is covered, flanks are covered, you got your player forward. Then he makes the substitutions and he says, we don't need to play in central midfield anymore. Let's just everybody play on the flanks. and so what does Newcastle? What does Liverpool do? Well, they win the ball back. They play the long ball through the middle where there aren't any players anymore, and Darwin Nunez is in space. So that was an Eddie Howe disaster class from his fucking Bournemouth days. I don't expect that to happen again. If it does, then we got a real rant next week if he continues to do shit like this, because that was just unforgivable. It's criminal.
I knew
it's criminal the way he substituted for this team.
I knew Darwin Nunez would come up at some stage. I'm surprised it took so long. I mean, look, I'll just say this, right? Sometimes when you don't think about something, it's easiest. I always give you a cricket analogy. That's a funny game which you don't know about. If the ball's smacked miles into the sky and you've got to get underneath it and catch it, you've got to think about it. You might drop it. If it comes like a missile at you, you stick your hand out and it just goes, oh, there's the ball. It's instinct. The bloke's got instinct. Now, if he can turn that instinct now into a bit of belief, then he can change those chances which are, shall we say, the ones you don't think about to the ones you think about. Don't discount him. He's a young lad. I think he's going to come good. There's another feeling. You could see it. You could see how much it meant to him. Whether you like it or not, I think he's coming this season. I actually think we'll see something from him now.
Maybe it's game week 4 for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
maybe he's coming this season. I mean, look, I can go through the
Christmas.
app
Christmas
and
is coming this year. We know, but
Easter's
you've got
coming.
To say, come on. How many touches did Haaland have before he scored?
No.
4.
I think,
and then we all wax lyrical about Haaland.
I think you're missing my point. My point is you're going to go and anoint somebody over a situation that was created by just utter stupidity by the opposing manager. So just chill, just keep an eye, throw him on your watch list.
I'm not anointing him. Far from it. I agree with you. Watch list. Someone said to me today, I'm bringing Darwin in. I said, watch list. I didn't say any more than that. What I'm saying though, is that there is a glimmer. There is a glimmer of hope for that, for him. And I think sooner rather than later. I'll tell you what I did think though, Gabe. I'll tell you I was very impressed. We'll come on to Liverpool in a minute, but I was very impressed in Jota. Let's keep going. We'll come on to Liverpool in a few minutes. Crystal Palace against Wolves. Oh God. This is last on Match of the Day game. I've got a funny feeling. Although you never know with Wolves these days. You don't know which Wolves is going to turn up, and neither does our NetXG and fixture difficulties either. Crystal Palace 1.2 from your NetXG, Wolves 1.1 doesn't suggest an awful lot. Shot goal predictors are completely negative, neutral, and rubbish. My fixture difficulties likes Palace defence a lot more than their attack. Has Dean Henderson gone to Palace? Did he sign? There was rumours he was going. I've not seen, to be honest. If he has, I think there's the death knell for Johnson, personally, or very good chance of a death knell for him in weeks to come. Wolves minus 3.3 attack. I'm not sure I believe that, Gabe. They look different this season. All those bright red for Wolves. It's Palace at home is the only downside I've got here. But I've just got this funny feeling that Wolves might be on the rebound a tiny bit. What's your view?
Yeah, they just sold Mateus Nunes to City, and right?
Have they sold him? Has he gone?
Yep, he's gone.
I took it all back.
I think Henderson has his medical or his physical today. So I think it's not done, but it is done, kind of thing. I just think this is a really interesting game. I don't know how to call it, to be perfectly honest. I think it's
1-1.
quite even.
I call it 1-1.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think the data is a little bit behind on Wolves. And Wolves are in the process of transforming as well. Just keep an eye for the Wolves when they have a headed matchup for that Sasha Kalajdzic player. I think we will see more of him this season. But there's not really much to talk about here. If you have Eza, you're disappointed. I would be moving him on. I just don't see much from Palace that we can hang our hats on. Like, look how compact they all are. Nobody's getting free. Eza is the furthest forward, but no one's breaking through. Nobody's penetrating. So this is a hard avoid for me. 12 shots in the box predicted for Palace stands out.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this, and what we'll do is during the international break, I think when we come back at the start, the first matchups after, we'll have got 4 weeks in, so we'll have the first look at the variance of how teams are doing with respect to fixture difficulties. Now we're 4 games in, but I'll give you a sneak peek here. Palace's attacking variance at home has fallen. It's dropped. It's worse now. So Roy's reverting to type. Okay. Defensively, it's much worse. And with respect to Wolves, they have improved significantly. In fact, they are about, there's a few people have improved, to be fair, but they've gone from being absolutely shocking to being average. So let's see. But I don't think there's much in it, and I don't think we're going very, very close to any of these right now, do you? So I think we can keep going.
Yeah.
On to the Liverpool against Aston Villa game. And as fast as Liverpool go from a negative, a really horrible fixture, they have a really good one coming back. I think this is interesting. This suggests that Liverpool's attack is treated super well within the metrics, and Liverpool's defence is treated quite badly. And I think it's not just me, is it? I know mine magnifies how Liverpool is treated in defence. But even I know your NetXG doesn't like them. It doesn't particularly like them either, or NetXG against. At home, on the other hand, however, my fixture difficulty likes them a bit more. It doesn't love them, and they're still negative. So it does suggest that Aston Villa can easily get something, and that's the same as your NetXG at 1.15. Your Liverpool fixture difficulty for your NetXG for Liverpool, however, is only 1.26, and I would put 5. I reckon there's 3 goals in here for Liverpool potentially. The only thing I would say is that it doesn't particularly light up. 3.1 big chances. I could see 10 shots in the box. And a right-sided matchup coming out for Liverpool a little bit might make a bit of a Salah day. Who knows? I know a few people who are selling Salah right now. I don't know that I would sell him this week on the back of that fixture and on the back of that matchup. I reckon I might give him one more. Gib.
I don't know why NetXG doesn't rate Liverpool, especially Liverpool's attack, especially at home. So I would disagree with that NetXG number there. I'd actually disagree with the Villa number there too. I think both of them should be up closer to 2. I expect multiple goals from both sides in this one. I think 5 is extremely generous for Liverpool though, and 0.8
it's having a bit of it's having a bit of a moment at the moment. But the numbers are right. The numbers are okay. The numbers are absolutely correct. It's the fact is that I think what we're seeing some quite expansive play, and when it works on big chances and things like that, it spots that type of scenario. And it really likes the Liverpool at home. But to be fair, Gabe, if we're brutally honest with ourselves, we do like Liverpool at home, don't we? Attacking wise,
for sure,
we do like them. We like them a lot. You would load up against Liverpool in most years against Aston Villa. Maybe not now, but most years you would load up on them.
And I agree that right side is probably the one to attack in this particular fixture. Salah against Luka Dean on that side. Although then he has Pau Torres to contend with. But still, I think he's the player to get. Even Luis Diaz wide, you can see Luis Diaz will want to pin Matty Cash back there, right? And 1v1, I do favor Luis Diaz in that matchup as well. I agree. I see multiple goals for Liverpool here, and I think their assets are a hold. But that's the problem with how at the beginning of the season, right? When I sure you consider Salah, but he's a hard player to sell sometimes.
Easy when you wildcard.
Easy when
the idea, I didn't want to do that. The idea was to move him out and spread the funds. But then when you've got a pile of shit, the rest of the shite that I had, then I was in a situation where I was on the wrong end of a huge amount of variance and players just not playing. And that was the other thing. And it happened again. All the players who I thought would not play didn't play. This is the point. This is the thing. If you've still got Salah, I think I wouldn't sell him this week. That's me.
The one thing, and yeah, I agree, and I'm going to go to the average position maps here, and it shows their each team's previous matches and what happened before and after the substitutions. And interestingly, one is different. Liverpool is different because they obviously went down to 10 men, so they have to get narrow and they have to get compact. But when Villa substitute, they get compact. So if Villa go ahead in this one and then make some substitutions and then just stay compact, they could make this tactically difficult for Klopp. And I rate Emery's tactics more than higher than Klopp's anyway. So so I just see goals, but I see a close game. Yeah.
We'll have to see how these affects the home and away side of things. As I say, Liverpool get treated so badly away from home defensively, so badly.
Yeah.
And the point made is that I think they're on a massive unbeaten run, but they're still conceding goals. The thing is, they're just scoring goals, generally speaking. This is the thing. They're scoring more. They are not keeping clean sheet. And Trent's been a fire sale, hasn't he? Looks like a bit of a fire sale. Anyone who started with Trent, all the big
did he drop?
Content creators. I don't know.
We predicted he'd drop in price.
I'm not sure he dropped, but I think who sold him? Did Andy sell him? I think Andy Martin had him. I'm pretty sure he sold him. Obviously, Ducky sold him, but I don't know. That was peer pressure from us.
No, Ducky realized Trent was a terrible pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we have some more likes? Well, we're at an hour now, so should we ask for some likes, Gabe? Do you want to do it this time?
Yeah, I'll do it. Look, much like hugs, likes are free. So give us a virtual hug by liking the stream and the effort that we put into this. And always when you ask for something, I find that you should give something. So I'll give appreciation. Look, we got 66 people in the live chat. The chat is going off. You guys are giving us tons of information and just good things to talk and think about. So that's one thing I really appreciate the chat in our streams, Mariner. I really do.
And there's some super sarcastic stuff about the fixture difficulty as well, basically telling us we don't know what the fuck we're on about. But anyway, that's absolutely fine. I love it.
We don't. It's okay.
No,
it's Gameweek 4. We still,
with all honesty, no, but this is exactly the point we made. This data is the data. The context is the context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think I tweeted about Liverpool last week. I think, here we go, Liverpool are about to implode again. Player sent off, 1-0 down. Salah with a fantastic assist for Gordon. Amazing, wasn't it? I did laugh a lot. And I expected Newcastle to go on and win 3 or 4-0. Honestly, maybe even more. But to be fair to them, they certainly played a bit better. Let's see how it goes in weeks to come. Right, what else have we got? Arsenal against Manchester United. Gabe, we spoke about this yesterday at length about a number of points, didn't we? One of which was, anyone who sold Tweedledum or Tweedledee from Manchester United, it came back to bite them on the arse very, very hard indeed. This week, I'm going to say the same thing. I don't think I'd sell either of them. I don't think I'd sell either of them, and I don't think I'd sell Arsenal assets either. Maybe Martinelli. Martinelli is the one player I might have considered selling, but we're going to come on to this in a second. Arsenal's net XG 1.79, Manchester United's 1.06. Shot goal predictors suggest goals on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Significance. Arsenal rate fixed difficulty is much more favourable than Manchester United. But Arsenal at home right now look leaking. The gut feel which I have here is that fixed difficulty for Manchester United is much better than 0.7. Much better. I think there's goals in this. I think it could be a really, really good game. I wouldn't be selling my assets. That's where I am. I'm certainly not selling my assets, but I only own Rashford and Saka now. But if I had the 4, people went for the 4, didn't they? They went for Martinelli and Saka and Rashford and Bruno. I'd give them another week. I think I'd give them a run in this game. I reckon there's goals coming. What do you think?
Well, just really quickly for Connor, Havertz has to go, brother. That was a mistake. I made the mistake as well.
Have you got him still?
My team.
You've sold him?
No, good God, no. Yeah, I sold him for Mbomo last game week.
Good God, no.
Good God, no.
Down the toilet.
You know what? I'm. This will be interesting because I'm going to disagree. I kind of agree with the metrics align here. Arsenal 1.79, Man United 1.06, Arsenal 3.5, Man United 0.7. So they kind of line up there, and I kind of agree. I think this is constipation meets famine. Manchester United away against good opposition are starved for attacking returns. I don't think they get anything. I mean, they might get something, but I bet it comes from somebody like Casemiro instead of one of the players that we may want. And then Arsenal, I'm almost done. Like I'm done of watching this constipated football. Commitment to the right side, just blind commitment to the right side. Who cares if you don't penetrate? Who cares if you don't score? Who cares if Havertz and Martinelli are making good runs down the left? You have Partey and Saka on the right side. Fuck off. I'm so done. I almost don't even want to watch this game, but I will watch it. But I'll watch it begrudgingly.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say you don't agree with me because you think Raya might be in goal.
Oh, no, it's more so just because of the attacks. I think this is 1-1, 2-1, 1-0 in either direction. Actually, no, for Arsenal.
But are we saying, look, I mean, are we saying that Forest are a better attacking outfit than Manchester United right now? Because look what Forest did there. They had a couple of really, really good chances. Really good. They should have scored to start with against Arsenal. Arsenal, to me, look leaky. This is why I don't quite like these numbers. Arsenal have been leaky at home now for ages. Ages. Now, this suggests that Manchester United are bad. But this suggests more that Manchester United are bad than Arsenal are good. There's that fixture difficulty for defence. That's where I would come from.
There's a good point here about FPL discomfort.
Yeah.
Kieran, but Malacia, Shah, Vahan all injured. So, yeah, they do have injuries that could open things up. But again, if Arteta is going to masturbate, then he's not going to penetrate.
I mean, black screen here. It's a game neither team want to lose more. Neither team wants to lose rather than wants to win. I see what you're saying. I don't know. I've just got that funny feeling. I could easily be wrong. But as I said, from my perspective, I look at the way that Arsenal are particularly poor right now. I also see that Manchester United now have finally started to get something to click. And, you know it's not so a little bit. A little bit. It's not as if they weren't creating. It's not as if they weren't creating chances. Just weren't finishing them, Gabe. That's the point. But now they're at least finishing something.
Home Forest, you can't compare Home Forest to away Arsenal. They're just. It's like
we can compare home Arsenal against Forest against Arsenal against Manchester United though, because they've both played. You know, Forest have been here as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. I mean, I agree with you. I think Arsenal concede. I totally agree. But
if they concede, and if they score, I think it's a. I'm not saying. Look, what I'm saying is that I personally wouldn't be selling Bruno. I'm not going to sell. If I had the choice between Bruno and Rashford, it's definitely Bruno. But I've got Rashford. Arsenal, I mean, you know, you're probably going to sell them soon. I just don't know how to sell them this week. Awesome.
I'd sell Rashford.
Saka is something like 66% owned now. I think. Mad. Right.
Is it? So what's your perspective on that? Is it mad to go without him?
It's dangerous. I don't know about it being mad. I mean, of course, he seems to be still on penalties, which obviously we weren't 100% sure last week, were we? But we seem to. And again, this is where my decision of wildcarding could come back to haunt me, of course, because we're still learning. We're still learning about what's going on this week. But you play what's in front of you. You play what's in front of you. And I see goals in this game. But anyway, there we go. I think that's the matchups, isn't it? I think we've done them. Record time, 1 hour and 8. You know why we do this so quickly, don't you? You know why we do these matchups so fast?
Yeah.
Nima's not here.
Nima's not. Totally.
It's true. It's true.
This is a record even for us. I mean, I think it's a practice doing the review show, banging that out in an hour, and I think we kind of brought that energy from yesterday to the show today.
I think so. I think so. I mean, we've still got to look at the long range and the summaries as well. So let's put the summaries up. So there we go. So there's the summaries. So at 1 hour and 9, or say 1 hour and 10, come to the YouTube to see the summaries for Gameweek 4. Obviously, you see everything lined up here: fixture difficulties, home and away, net XG and net XG against, the zonals and various matchups, XG, big chances, shots on target, etc. Look for the greens, apart from the shots in the box, because the formatting's gone wrong for some reason. But hey ho, I'll put it right next week. As the teacher says, Chris, we should do better. That's what my teachers used to say to me many years ago. Or I should say, could do better. I think that's more like it, not should, could. The next 5 matchups, Gab, I think this is quite interesting because I think this is, we always like to look at this, don't we, just in a slightly sort of like longer range. What we're seeing attack-wise, Manchester United, Liverpool, Brighton. Liverpool are turning. We said they'd turn around game week 6, didn't we? That's when they started to, that's when they're already starting to show. So Liverpool are turning now. Brighton are still there. Manchester United are there. And Newcastle are strengthening now. Manchester City. Defensively, Gabe, this is interesting. It's no longer just a Manchester City show. We are starting to see Newcastle coming through. Fixtures are starting to turn for Newcastle, albeit with Botman missing. Crystal Palace is still there. Chelsea are improving as well. Your net XG is basically Manchester City, Brighton, Arsenal and Spurs. So it's slightly different angles. And defensively, Newcastle, Manchester City. Why on earth are Luton so low? I don't understand that. That could be an issue. Then again, it might not. Yes, okay. Zonals, Brighton left and centre. Stand out. Manchester United across the board. Manchester City left and centre. Newcastle centre. Chelsea right. That's Sterling as well. And yeah, one other thing I'm going to point out, Gabe, I'm going to look right to the very end. Look how bright Newcastle are with respect to XG, big chances, shots on target, shots in the box, and 16 headers. Newcastle's headed matchups are amazingly good. That could play to Trippier, is what I was going to say earlier on. And that's why I think, I'm not sure I'm going to play him this week, I may not. But getting Trippier into your team, I've certainly brought him into my wildcard. He will be coming into a lot of people's teams in weeks to come. What's your view? You're muted.
Got it. Thank you. That does scream Trippier, doesn't it? And it shows that like Newcastle will keep plugging away. It is. I get your point on Isak. He's like a 70-minute player, and will he be sometimes less than that when Callum Wilson gets more time or when their European fixtures start? But I want to look at what stands out here is Arsenal. Yeah, ignoring Everton.
I did miss the Everton one. I should have said it actually. I just ignored it. But yeah, fair enough. What do you say? Stands out to Arsenal. Go on.
Yeah, because there are so many other teams that seem to have better fixtures according to the FDR. At least, even that, like, they're down at 8.6, but net XG still likes them. So there's a little bit of a disagreement there. So it'll be interesting. I guess people, as Gabriel Jesus gets back, people are selling Martinelli. Does Martinelli get better once Jesus comes back? And then will people start buying Martinelli again? And then will all of that dynamic change the FDR?
We've been there before, haven't we? We've been there before with that one. Although saying that, last time we did it, he was in form. He'd been in form. He's not really been there yet. He's not there at this moment in time. So slightly different.
And there's been a tactical change that,
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so. But yeah, I mean, again, Brighton are cooling. Their numbers are cooling a bit. And again, that suggests Brighton's fixtures are getting, but they're still high. But the numbers on the matchups, the XG, the big chances and everything, they're still very high, but they're not standout like they were at the start of the season. Brighton's numbers at the start of the season were exceptionally high, if you remember. So they've cooled a little bit. Let's see. This will change every week. We'll have a good look at it during we'll probably spend 15 minutes looking at what we know next when we do the matchup show for the one coming out of the international break. So, all right. We'll wait for the questions. We'll do them a bit later. Let me just line up the captaincy metric, and then we'll get that fired. So if you just stand by, here we go. 1 hour 15. Okay, captaincy metric. I'm afraid it's Haaland,
Fuck me.
but it's only fucking just Haaland.
It's tied.
Brentford are pushing them super close, and Bumo is right on his heels. It's too close to call. I think it's 0.1 or something ridiculous. It's near as damn it a draw. Basically, what you've got is you've got form against fixture. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And Bumo's form against Haaland's fixture, and everything else is about the same. So you're backing Haaland to improve, which probably means that he jumps, basically. So I think Haaland is probably the captain choice here. Minutes-wise, virtually the same. Interestingly, that Salah is in third, and the reason he's down is because there's no hauls, or very few hauls, and these hauls are starting to fall off. Then you've got Jota, who's top for hauls, but down on minutes. And then you've got Visser. I added him in. I thought I need to have an extra Brentford asset to see what actually happens here, because Bumo was so high. And Visser's numbers are not great, are not bad either, but his big chance involvement's down. So he's not. I mean, that's maybe just penalties. Is that just the lack of penalties? Is that Bumo against him with penalties? I don't know. Is a big chance? Is a penalty count as a big chance? Is a penalty count as a big chance? That was a question. Don't think it was. No. Didn't think it was.
But I do like how this one lines up tactically for Wissa. So I'm glad he's in there. I'm just still shocked that Mbeumo is so close to Holland.
I mean, look, I'll say this, and this is the metric that's obviously the calculations here. His numbers are there for a reason. But I tell you what, he didn't look good last week. He really didn't look good last week. So I think eye test switches you off him, if you ask me. But saying that, did Haaland look particularly good last week? No. He looked petulant. He looked like he was getting stressed out. But this is a different, he was getting, well, quite frankly, it was closer to the Rugby World Cup than it was to football. Certainly the way he was being, they were defending around him in the box. But yeah, he wasn't particularly. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see it a bit more. There we go. So he wasn't particularly in great form either, was he? But I mean, look, if there's anything we want to do, I mean, if Salah had one more haul, takes him right up there. If we think that, which one we were saying, we were very concerned about West Ham, weren't we? With respect to your net XG. When we were looking at it earlier on. Net XG is terrible for West Ham, really awful. We don't know. It seems to be right. But if I just put that up to the same as the fixture difficulty, that jumps Bowen up to 83. So that jumps him up. So if you actually think that fixture is a good fixture, and Bowen is a genuine captaincy shout this week as well. Now, is he as strong as Haaland? No. You could argue that Mbeumo may be these haul or these last 6 returns and things, mainly penalties, this, that, the other. If that drops, he drops back. So I think he falls into the pack. I think Haaland's still the captaincy shout for the week. I don't know.
What if
it's boring?
So
I like the idea of other captaincies, if I'm honest with you, but I ain't going there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Holland is the obvious one, so you just go there again. But just out of just curiosity, Son of Sam says, you think Sterling would be higher?
Yeah, let's have a look at that one. That's a good
Sterling...
one. But his big chance involvement is quite low, which is... That's probably right, because,
But it's new. If we get a repeat of last week, for example, then his big chance involvement could shoot up. Right?
If his big chance involvement shoots up to say 80, it doesn't still get there. He's got but it's his points are obviously on the low end. So but it's no points. So right. So obviously it's basically the fact that the statistics are catching up. aren't they? So this is a prime example of in one more week, if Sterling's points, if he gets another haul on his points and he jumps right up there, I don't know, to say 90. Yeah, there you go, 77.
Okay.
You know, you can see he starts to get up there. He's in there, but
Foden,
I mean,
March, Saka, Alvarez, Matoma conversation. He's in that group.
He's in the mix. He's in the mix. But I mean, look, I mean, as I say, we're not net that return, we're net that haul, right? The one thing I'll say about Sterling is I actually don't dislike. I just think there's a few things going again. The fixture ability isn't totally great. Why is it not so good? Probably the hangover from Chelsea from the past. Chelsea's fixture, Chelsea. You know, maybe if we went to 100% of this year's form for Chelsea at home, it'd be a bit better. That would probably pump him up a bit more as well. So I think it's difficult. It's still early. It's still very early. I mean, we've only really put in, what are we putting in? 20% of this year's data at the moment? That's all, right? That's all we've got.
Yeah.
Apart from the minutes.
We're doing Right. And that good just background info, or behind the scenes info for the haulers is we are waiting 80% last season, 20% this season.
And mine's actually last 6 of last season as well, 80% of the last 6 actually now. So I'm actually using, I'm using about an 9-game period. That's it. That's all I'm using now. So I'm trying to shrink mine down because you can clearly see that there's so much changed. So I want to get, and I think by the time we get to Gameweek 4, I will be up at 70. I'll be at 70-30 by next week.
Yeah, that sounds about right. By Gameweek 8, I think I might be 100% this season. 4 and 4,
yeah,
4 home, 4 away.
I'm going to see. I've got an idea of how I'm going to tweak it, but yeah, I'm certainly heading that way as well. So okay, that's the metric. Before we do some questions, do you want to gather the questions up? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to very quickly do some shouts. And the Minileague, whilst you gather the questions. So Minileague for the public Minileague, HUP69D. There's also a Minileague for the Patreons and for the YouTube haulers, where there's some prizes as well. You've got to be part of the Discord, though, however, to be able to get that code. So if you want to come and join us, please do. It's only a small league, actually. 50 or 40 people in it at the moment. In fact, I don't think everyone's joined it yet. Gabe, have you joined it yet? You weren't even in the league the other day.
Yes, I think I joined it. So everybody's, making everybody else look good, I think.
Okay. And now to thank you. Let's go to the thank you. So Super Haulers, Thingamabob, David Harrison, FPL Nima, Zach, Harbour Boy, Daddy Bot, Greenback Golf, FPL Robbie, Danish, Matthias Kangashaka, Leon, Son of Sam, and Temitope. And then we've got Haulers, Dread, FPL Craig, Pod, the Kevin Rose, Connor Hunt, Donny, Oscar Arias, FPL Teacher, Blonde, S. Scott M, William, Tom Gorsuch, Davindra Raj, Lindsay O, FPL DG Boy 88, not 98, Akshay, Dom, Claire FPL, Catherine A, Salah the Samurai, Harry Not Kane, Neil, Sebastian Koo, Benjamin Lockwood, who couldn't be here but commented that he couldn't be here tonight, FPL Rubber Ducky, who's been in and gone, Neil's Apples, probably because he knew the talk about Trent was coming. Nick Khan, Big Mike, FPL Discomfort, who gifted a ton of memberships by the looks. I think General Zod, GW. I would say GW Lady, Gladys Street Pictures. My God, I can never read that. I should know that. It's an Everton fan. He's an Everton fan, isn't he? Jack M, FPL planner. He, she, who knows? FPL Bondos, Jamie Baker, Brett M, and Pai Hong Tan, and Patreons, Elrod, Lucien Gan, FPL California, Thingamabob, Ron Fosk, and Mike Bourne. Thank you, each and every one of you. We love you all dearly. Gabe, have we got some questions?
We have some questions. I love how that slide's getting so big. So that's cool. Thank you all so much.
Yes, I have to go faster and faster on it. Yeah. I can get through it in about a minute and a bit now.
Yeah. Okay. This is from a couple days ago. It comes from William. Going with the Discord questions first. William in Mallorca. Hi, fellas. I currently own.
I forgot. Right. Good.
Yeah. I currently own Saliba, Saka, and Martinelli, but having some doubt about Martinelli's recent form. Do you think that he is a hold or a sell going forward? 4 million in the bank, 2 free transfers. Thinking of moving Martinelli onto Madison and roll other free transfer. I like that move. Martinelli to
Yeah,
Madison for
I
you
agree.
if you own Saka. Yeah,
I agree.
Don Black Dragon. What are your thoughts on a 12.5 million Salah who has returned 5 points every game week? Is he a hold for the next 5 game weeks, or should I spread the funds to the like of Bruno Matters?
I think you're very close to spreading it. I just don't know whether I'd spread it this week or just sit and wait for the international break. I might give him another run this week and then just sit and think about it. If you've got the ability to have a little bit of a mini wildcard in the international break, I don't think it's a bad idea. There's all sorts of things going to happen in the international break. Some reasons why I'm not so keen necessarily on wildcarding this week, if I'm honest with you, because you're down to 1 free transfer and you could find your wildcard unravels quite quickly. At least I've got 2 free transfers. I'm hoping to go in with 2 free transfers. So no, I'd maybe keep him this week, but I think I'd be selling him quite quickly. That's if he doesn't go to Saudi, of course. He might have gone by the time we have the next show.
He may be gone in the next 48 hours. We'll see. Yeah, I agree. Probably keep for this week, but I would spread the funds next week. And I think Madison is just. I think Madison should be top of most people's lists. He certainly is top of mind.
So Salah's got Wolves after the international break. Yeah, is it away or is it at home? I don't know. I'd have to look.
Probably away, right?
Yeah, it might be. I think it's away.
Next question, Kieran Scully. Which, if any, of Martinelli, Saka, Rashford is the most disposable this week?
This week? If you're just talking about this week.
Who to sell this week?
Dear. I looked at it and I would go with... where would you go with this? I've got 2 arguments, basically. I've got the EO argument, because I'd sell Rashford. Got the other argument, because I wouldn't sell Saka.
Well,
I don't think.
Saka stays. So on the one hand, you could have 2 Arsenal mids, or you can have an Arsenal and a United. It depends, I guess, if you have Bruno as well, but I doubt it since you didn't mention Bruno. So I would want to sell Rashford myself because I think Martinelli could improve with Jesus returning. But I may also want some United coverage, so I might want one Arsenal and one United. I might go for that balance instead.
And to be honest with you, the long-range fixed difficulty actually suggests probably that Manchester United's fixed difficulty is okay compared to Arsenal's is a little bit down. So I think I'd probably go to 1 of each. And for that case, I think begrudgingly, and I think you might be right regarding the Jesus link, I think I'd sell Martinelli.
It's smarter to sell Martinelli, but I would probably, I know myself, and I would sell Rashford, and that would probably be a mistake. So sell Martinelli. That's how I play. Next question. Sebastian Koo, 2 free transfers, 1.4 million in the bank. Plans to use 1 free transfer this game week, roll the other. Plan is to sell Odegaard. Which midfield to replace? Sterling, Madison, Bowen, Mbomo. Let's rank those. Sterling, Madison, Bowen, and Mbomo.
Sterling, Madison, Mbomo, Bowen. I think I'd put Madison at the top for longer range. I think Sterling's right there as well, probably close by. I think Bowen is more of a short-term pick by look, and I'm not sure I trust West Ham going forwards completely. So I think he sits bottom. So I think Bowen's 3rd. There we go. I think he's a great pick for this week, by the way, Bowen. I'm just not sure he's the pick for the long range when you're looking at all the others. Do you know what I mean? I think Madison has to be that pick for me.
Yeah, Madison.
And then I think Sterling. I think Sterling now.
I'm with you. Sterling now. Madison long term. Sterling now.
In fact, you could go. Quite frankly, you could go Sterling. I wouldn't be no objection in someone going Sterling right now. He looks like he's on form. Again, he's very, very. He's little dinosaur arms. It looks like he's back to his old ways. little T-Rex arms. I quite like him, but I do think Maddison is a very good pick. The only slight doubt I've got is Spurs look a bit weak up top, and I'm just wondering if he's got to do a bit too much himself. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's been fine with nothing on top up top. So he's been fine. I think Maddison has been fine topless.
Yeah, well, there we go.
season, so.
Yeah, okay. He's not been affected by that strategically placed wheelie bin up front so far. Okay, next question.
Connor Hunt wants to know, Bruno or Matters in a vacuum? Which one in a vacuum?
Oh, hell.
Madison.
Yeah, I think so. Cheaper.
Yeah.
I do like Bruno.
Let's see. Thingamabob.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I like it. He's been good this season. He's been he's been unlucky with returns. He should have more returns than he has. I'm comfortable. I like having Bruno. Thingamabobs wishes us a good stream tonight. He can't make it. Let's see. If you're a Salah, Bruno, and Rashford owner, is it better to tinker around the edges, or do you need to call one of those three to start working in mid-price options, Madison, Foden, etc.? You need to sell one of those three.
Salah's opportunity costs are just so high. For his returns. He has to go eventually. It's when.
I mean, Rashford for Maddison this week, and then Salah to Foden next week. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I think realistically, you can. I just think his opportunity costs are just too high. And 12.5 million for someone said, great returns, Chris, 5 points for 12.5 million. And I thought, God, you're right. That's terrible. You know, he's not been the value so far this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What
else we got? Are we into the questions now?
I think that's it from Discord.
Right.
Yeah. So get your questions in if you haven't already. Thanks for this appreciation, son of Sam, being a Norwegian. I love your pronunciation of Odegaard. Odegaard is a fun name to say.
Righty-ho. More Manchester United questions. Would you buy a Manchester United midfielder for doubling up this week? No. I don't think I'd buy. No. I don't think I'd buy this week. I don't mind them in the longer term because I think the fixtures are okay, but I don't know about doubling up. I still think there's better value with Maddison and potentially Sterling and things like that. If another question from Chris, a lot of questions about Rashford. Would you hold Rashford this week if you only had him from Manchester United? This is getting a bit tight, isn't it? These are tough calls. Fixture tells you to sell him. If you're looking at it that way.
Eye test tells you to sell him. So I think Rashford is a sell.
Well, if it's your only one, right? We've gone a little bit against what we've just been saying a while. We've been saying for a while, maybe we should, the numbers are still okay. The issue is, I still think, my gut feeling here is, could you find your way to Bruno a bit cheaper going forwards? How are Manchester United going to look when Hovland turns up? Finally.
Yeah, that's definitely a wait and see. But if you have, I think if you have Rashford, you have the wrong United asset.
Yeah, so I think I am.
And I think Maddison and Sterling are both better than Rashford, at least for the next 5.
Here we go. Rashford to Maddison again. Bowen, Colmes brought Bowen in. Nice. Do you have any idea what teams rotate well with West Ham? Keep looking, Gabe.
West Ham rotation.
I'm going to be looking at my data whilst you're answering the next question. Let's come back to that one. Let me just see if I can find anything.
You'll need you'll want West Ham rotation in game week 5 against City. Not against Liverpool, I don't think. So game week 5 and game week 8 are kind of like the only two really tough matchups that you'll need kind of some rotation for. if we're looking at Diaby, as you mentioned, game week 5 they have their home Palace. Game week 8 away to Wolves. So Diaby would be a good pairing with Bowen, I think.
5 and 8. Who else has it? 5 and 8.
Just going through the spreadsheets here for those of you.
I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking here. I'm trying to spot this. I'm trying to spot it. Keep going. I think we look best fixture difficulty for 5. We've got obviously Manchester United. We've got Newcastle. Bit of Spurs for attack.
Oh, how about Anthony Gordon as a
maybe
rotate with Bowen?
Yeah, maybe. But 8.
Diaby's good. Gordon could be good. I don't know who Newcastle have.
No, Manchester United. No, they don't. They have. They're away at West Ham, so that's not very good, is it?
It's not bad.
It's difficult,
okay.
Right?
Not...
It's difficult, but maybe just. Okay, right. Let's. Yeah. I think it takes a bit more work. Is Gordon nailed? Next question.
Yeah, I mean he's playing really well. He fills an important role for them. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be. I still think they have a problem on that right side, and they need to fix it. Almiron is not doing what they need him to do. So Gordon could. I've been saying this for weeks. Gordon could move to the right, put Barnes on the left. But Gordon's deliveries are better than Barnes' deliveries. So I don't know.
You just don't like Harvey Barnes. Let's be honest.
I've been saying I want him to play. I think he'll do well at Newcastle. I like him now. He's not under Frogers.
So FPL DG boy, Pedro Mabama, or Mabama, by the looks of things, to Jackson, Alvarez, Visser, Isaac, or Antonio. I've got 4 million in the bank. He's burning a hole in his pocket here. Now, this is an interesting one. This week, one transfer, 2 transfers. If you're holding 2 transfers in your pocket and you want to use one this week, you know what I'm going to go for here, don't you?
You're going to go for Antonio.
Go for? I bloody well am, yeah. 100% I
am. It's an opportunity. You know what? I'm gonna back you. It's an opportunity. It's like
only if you've got 2 transfers. Only if you've got 2 transfers.
Correct.
And if this is the only problem you've got to deal with, do it. So I do like Visser, by the way. Visser or Jackson. Longer term.
Okay. I think I would go Wissa or Isak.
Initially. Yeah, I mean Isak. I'm on Isak. I'm just that little bit worried about his minutes. The Champions League coming as well. People are telling this sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, of course, Antonio, I suppose, has got Europa, hasn't he?
Yeah.
As well, they'll have Europa League coming soon. Jackson obviously has got fixtures now, although maybe flattering to deceive a little bit. I think if you're holding two, and you fancy a punt at Antonio, it's a Friday night as well. It's the first game. It could give you a giant boost up the ranks. It could be a wonderful start to the game week, and then if not, you just blame me.
And if that does happen, send us a picture of your Friday night vibes. With Antonio
and if it doesn't, don't. If it doesn't, don't. Right? Yeah. Anyone who's, I'm not answering this question because she's just mentioned the other Voldemort. Mariners other Voldemort. Claire has, yes. I can't.
Bench Mariners Voldemort.
Saliba. Bench Voldemort this week. Saliba.
I think he's benchable.
Yeah, I think he is benchable. I think he is. Yeah.
Depends for whom, but I would say I don't hate starting Cabaret this weekend. I know I'm recommending a Luton defender. I realize this.
Cabaret.
And if it goes back,
Cabaret is like when they start dancing around, like, with the hat on, things like that, waving a stick and things.
No, is cabaret is like the sensual dancing with the legs and the corsets. Either one, cabaret or cabaret.
You've been watching too much Moulin Rouge. Anyway, enough of this. Can't believe we're talking about cabaret now. Yes, bench him, Claire. Bench him. Son of Sam. So back to what Mariner said earlier about Trippier. He's got Chilwell, Saliba, Estupinian, I think he means, but yes, we know what you mean there. Who would you sell for Trippier? I don't think I'd sell anyone this week for him. Personally.
No one this week, and then either Estupinian or Saliba. I would cash in on I'm going to cash in on Estupinian, get that 0.1 million in my bank, and get Trippier.
I don't own him, right? I have to say, he probably worries me out of all players. He probably worries me more than anybody because he is going forwards. He is really dangerous, and Brighton are really dangerous. Thankfully, they are not looking like keeping that many clean sheets, which just gives me that bit of comfort. No. So you could probably sell him. I tell you what, Saliba's an interesting one because the issue is going to be is how are Arsenal going to be when Raya inevitably gets his break? They could really tighten up as a funny there's a funny feeling.
Yeah, they'll be better. But I mean, look at Brighton, right? I predict 0 clean sheets in their next 6. Newcastle, no. United, no. Bournemouth, no. Villa, no. Liverpool, no. City, no. Fulham home, yeah, maybe.
So you're relying on attacking returns, and you should never rely on attacking returns with defenders. Should you, mate?
And you made 0.1 million on him if you started the season with him. You can bank that before his price drops.
Yeah. Okay, Gabe, I've managed to wipe out some new. Oh no, not new questions. They are new points. I think we're about done. We've got Val saying Gabriel Trippier is the obvious move for him now. We've got Tricky saying Grimsby or Venezuelan cabaret. Well, Gabe, that could be entertaining. I'm not quite sure what Grimsby cabaret is. I think we need to have a think about that. I'm thinking what Venezuelan is, and I've got a funny feeling. I think I know what I'd sooner watch, and I'm not sure I'd be watching Grimsby cabaret. There we go.
How many Miss Universes have come from Grimsby? I couldn't hear you.
None.
None.
Have you seen the film? Right, right enough said. Right, okay. Right. Chris, awkward. I don't quite know what's awkward. What is awkward? Probably. Joseph, is Martinelli a sell if there's no other fires and he's got 2 free transfers? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I think he is. Obviously it depends who you've got in line for perhaps Foden, perhaps Maddison, perhaps Sterling. I wouldn't object to any of those. Would you, Gabe? But certainly those 3 immediately.
No.
Jump out.
Maddison 1, Foden 2, Sterling 3 for me.
I don't want to be part of the 56-point club though, so I've got to try and be a little bit different in some senses. But I think that's fairly obvious. I think every now and again you've got to go with the herd. And I think that's a fairly obvious route to points. Martinez, 75. Yes, he's flagged for Villa. Wait for Presses to get rid of Emmy or Bentley. Areola, 4 million. Gabe?
I don't know. Like,
I mean,
is it worth the free
you're
transfer?
You're going to want. Well, I mean, you're not playing a goalkeeper at all if he's not there, right? You've no keeper,
right?
So,
right,
you've only got 1 free transfer, though. I don't know. I personally, I probably would. I probably would personally.
I mean,
I don't like to go in.
What do you?
I don't like to go into any game with any game week with 10 players.
How many points are you expecting from Martinez this week?
At this rate, none.
Away to Liverpool?
Well, Martinez. Well, yeah, no, but he's flagged anyway. He's already injured, so I mean, it could be getting nothing.
But if my point is, if he plays,
3.
how many points would you expect from him? 3? Maybe, whatever, 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
That's not so. And if you value a free transfer at 4 because taking the extra is -4, then hold your free transfer and play without a goalkeeper. It's worth more than the 3 you think he'll get against Liverpool.
Yeah. And then Areola gets 12 points, and then your name's Mud. I mean,
and then you're sending me piles of poo in the mail like Mariner.
Yes, as usual. Yeah, so keep on the shit topics. I mean, look, I just think, Bentley, you've got the trouble is it's only one free transfer. That's the problem, because you're not going into that international break with 2, which is what I really would recommend people try to do if you can, because there's still an awful lot of things going to fly around. I mean, there'll probably be a few wildcards flying around this international break as well, I would guess. I won't be all surprised. It's normally a time when people get a bit bored and like to play a wildcard, right? Joseph, we could listen to you pronouncing Spanish player's name all day, Gabe. Go. Give me one.
Miguel Almirón le pasa el balón a Joelinton. How about that?
Who's flagged?
Who's flagged?
God, bloody hell! No. I'll tell you what, you're gonna have a fan club, mate, soon.
Idea for new content. I might have to retire from FPL and just
only
speak Spanish.
Maybe you could have an OnlyFans page. You don't want to know what one of them is. I don't even know what one of them is. I've only heard a rumor.
Only football fans. How about that?
Yeah,
I'll have an only football fans page.
Right. Okay. Gabe's gonna have an OnlyFans, everybody, just to speak Spanish to you. Right. This last question: Rashford and Mitoma for Maddison and Sterling for a -4 points hit. Is it a good deal? Rashford and Mitoma for Maddison and Sterling for a hit feels a bit. It feels a bit too much.
Yeah, I agree. Keep Mitoma. Just do Rashford and Maddison. That's it.
And FPL discomfort, our mate here. On that note, if you have 3 fully fit players on the bench, is it as important to try and have 2 transfers for post-internationals? Good point. Good point. But I don't know a lot of people who do. I think there's a few people scratching the way through with a few fires here and there, which could really light up in the next few days. If you've got a strong bench, I think you can be. You've obviously got a little bit of flexibility in the bank, haven't you?
Yes, but I will say that I have a decent bench, and I made the transfer of Rashford to Maddison.
You've already done it.
I did it. Even my bench is Archer, Cabore, and someone else.
I'm not objectional to it. Like you say, if you're feeling comfortable that you're not going to run into difficulties and have to take a hit coming out of the international break, and of course we don't know what's in front of us. None of us do. We don't even know whether whether players are going to get sold. Quite frankly, still, then fine. Personally, it's not. I think I would be a bit more cautious, but I can see why maybe you wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think, Gabe, we'll knock it on the head. Should we? What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's knock it on the head. So, right, okay, let's put that back on the screen. So, guys, thank you very much. 1 hour 49. Yeah, this is a world record. It must be because Nima's not here, like I said earlier. So, yes, Gabe, thank you as always.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And enjoy your break. I think going down to LA again.
Yep, off to LA tomorrow morning. Got a nice road trip ahead of me. And yeah, back not next week, as you said, but the week after for the review and then matchups.
Perfect. And I'm going down to Singapore, just like old times, next week. So
we're both going
the wrong time
just like old times.
I'm in the wrong time zone. Yeah, we
Singapore.
are actually. We're both going back to, I wouldn't say our roots, certainly not for me, but yes, going back down to Singapore
Our old
next
stomping
week.
ground. Our old
Yes,
stomping ground.
yes. I'm popping in to say hello to a few old mates. And yes, thankfully I don't have to get up in the middle of the night and watch football because there isn't any on. And I ain't watching the international because I find it boring. On that note, I think we'll get gone. And take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't hit like, please do. Just the final thing. And of course, we've already mentioned it once tonight. I think I had to mention it at all. Nominations for the Football Content Awards, please. It's been going along the bottom of the screen for about the last half an hour. Just have a look. And if you fancy voting for us just to get us on the shortlist, please do. Apart from that, take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.